So, throat singing. I know everybody sort of must have a question in their mind. What is throat singing and why is it called throat singing? Because we sing from the throat anyways. But throat singing is a literal transformation for a Mongolian term called Khöömii, which literally means pharynx or throat. Now, it's a vocal technique in which a person produces two or more sounds at the same time. Instead of singing one pitch, the singer manipulates the throat, mouth, tongue, and lips to create flute-like or didgeridoo-like or a music instrument-like sound. So, overtone singing is 80% listening, it's 20% technique. And the technique is pretty easy. It's like walking. Once you pick it up, you cannot really forget it. It's embedded into your subconscious, and it's basic tongue movements or say pressurizing the throat a little bit. So when you start throat singing, the high notes are often very soft, they are very faint, especially in the initial parts of the practice when you're just trying to learn. So, I'm Trishant. I have been working with Vishwa for about 3 years now. 2 years I've been the host, and I'm actually an overtone singer. I've been practicing overtone singing for 7 years. You'll learn more about overtone singing in this session, also about throat singing. Overtone is a subset of throat singing. So, before I start the session, I'd like to take about 30 seconds to just get everybody to chant a little bit, maybe Om. I'm doing this so that my throat clears up, and also I'll be doing a different technique called Kargyra, which is also somewhat like jamming with the sounds of thunder. So that goes like, I'll start the chanting now, so you can join me if you'd like. The first one is normal, so So the second technique, Kargyra, this goes like. So, throat singing. I know everybody sort of must have a question in their mind. What is throat singing and why is it called throat singing? Because we sing from the throat anyways. But throat singing is a literal transformation for a Mongolian term called Khöömii, which literally means pharynx or throat. Now, it's a vocal technique in which a person produces two or more sounds at the same time. Instead of singing one pitch, the singer manipulates the throat, mouth, tongue, and lips to create flute-like or didgeridoo-like or a music instrument-like sound. So, throat singing originated with the nomadic pastoralist cultures of Altai and Sine Mountains in Siberia and Mongolia, particularly amongst Turco-Mongol tribes. So, it mentions Han Dynasty in North China. It has strong roots in traditions of Mongolia. Tuva is Russia and Siberia. Tuvan is a style. Altai Kai is a style. There are multiple different styles in Mongolia. All of the different styles use different parts. Originally, this was used for herding cattle, and it was also used as, say, war cries. A particular style of it was used for war cries. It was used for shamanic practices. It is also inspired from sounds from nature like birds, sounds of thunder, sounds of water flowing, and all sorts of different natural sounds that you hear. Recently, it's been recognized by UNESCO, and they're trying to protect it as much as they can, and they understand the importance of it, because this form of art could relate to a primordial human, somebody who probably didn't play any music instruments but was just working with their own voice, exploring their own voice. So different styles of throat singing. The major styles, Khöömii. Khöömii has many other subparts too. It's the generic name or the generic form for throat singing. It has soft, diffused sounds with a constant drone sound. So a drone in this session, I would say a drone is just one sound. Ah, this is a drone sound. So when I do Khöömii or Sigit, which is a form of overtone singing, I move my tongue in such a way that the fundamental drone sound gets broken down into two parts. One is called the overtone and the other is the fundamental. The fundamental stay the same. So suppose so I was doubtful whether Zoom would cancel the overtones because it's some high frequencies, and I'm basically splitting the fundamental, the one voice sound that I'm producing from my throat into two parts with the help of my tongue. So different forms of throat singing, they use different parts, like say the diaphragm, the whole tract in different ways, and you can numb certain parts, you can activate certain other parts. We use a lot of false vocal cords to do a growling like sound. That is Kargyra, jamming with the thunder, as I said before. So Sigit is a subpart which is characterized by clear flute-like melody above the bass note. So So, yeah, Kargyra is the lower, deep growling undertones, which concentrates more on the subharmonics undertones, basically. The Sigit and Khöömii concentrate on the overtones, the higher frequencies. So, Kargyra is more like. So, yeah, there are also regional and cultural forms such as Inuit Katajak. Katajak is from, say, the Arctic parts of Canada. Sardinian Cantu Tenor is from parts of Italy, and Xhosa overtone singing is from parts of South Africa. So, overtone singing or throat singing is not just from one place, not just from Mongolia. It has developed in different parts of the world at different points of time, using different body parts, using different parts of the throat, the tongue, the head voice, the sinuses. So, all of them have very distinct different styles and unique sounds. So, these are some traditional Mongolian bands. This is their getup, this is what they look like. They generally play with a traditional instrument. So you have Khöömii and Alash. So these bands are generally from Altai or Tuan province, Siberia, Russian provinces of Mongolia. So you have Efing style of Xhosa, which is the South African throat singing style, which is very percussive. It has a lot of breaks in it and a lot of groovy patterns generally used, which is not used in Mongolia as such. Inuit is from the Arctic Canada, and it was used mainly by women when the guys used to go hunting. The women used to entertain themselves. They used to have these games where they would do overtone singing and battle out with each other in breaks and patterns. So it's sort of percussive, but whole lot of melody when it's competitive. So as I mentioned about Kargyra before, Kargyra though is a Mongolian throat singing form. I've come to know in the last few years that 51% of Mongolia is Tibetan, I mean, it's Buddhist. So they do a lot of Buddhist chanting too. And one of the main Buddhist chant techniques, which is practiced by the Gyuto monks of Tibet, it utilizes Kargyra style a lot. Each and every monk, they try to sing at their lowest note possible, a very low note, and then they use their throat to add a growl to it. So just like how I mentioned before, I'm gonna do copy a chant. So it goes like that's a typical Tibetan chant. They do it better than me, of course. They have years of practice and they practice since childhood. So nowadays, throat singing is not just used for folk music, not just for putting kids to sleep. It's also used in modern day metal music, and there's some really nice bands coming up from Mongolia, which are creating fusions of modern styles of, say, or subgenres of music. They are folk art form. So the most important and essential part to learn throat singing is to be able to listen very carefully. So if I just do overtones in a normal environment without a mic speaker, it is very difficult to make out the source of the sound until unless you're looking at me. So the higher notes, they sort of bounce back in on different mediums in a very different way than our basic fundamental voice. So overtone singing is 80% listening, it's 20% technique. And the technique is pretty easy. It's like walking. Once you pick it up, you cannot really forget it. It's embedded into your subconscious, and it's basic tongue movements, or say pressurizing the throat a little bit. So when you start throat singing, the high notes are often very soft, they are very faint, especially in the initial parts of the practice when you're just trying to learn. So you'll find it unstable, you'll find it masked by your main drone, which is the fundamental note. So if I'm singing ah, initially it would be like ah. So it gets masked a lot by my normal voice or normal singing, the basic fundamental note that's producing the sound. You can do to practice better. This is a trick, I would say. You can practice against an air source like a table fan hitting your face from far away. If you practice these sounds in front of a table fan, so biologically your ears are behind your mouth, and when the air moves like this, you'll be able to hear your own sounds better. So you'll be able to actually listen to your overtones very, like a little bit in the start, and then you can learn to isolate it and make it even more prominent. So active listening, yes, that's very important. Importance of breathing techniques. You need a very controlled, slow and steady flow of air coming through for sustaining the note itself. And because you're producing two notes, it's not like you're putting more effort, it's you're putting the same effort as singing. In fact, singing takes away more energy sometimes. In this, you can do just with one note from your throat, and you can play around with the overtones just with the help of your tongue. So all you need is a very slow and steady airflow coming out of your body. So you breathe in and then you let your air get out very slowly. You can try this with me if you'd like. So what I generally do is I try to listen to my breathing too. Your breathings also have your breathing out or your exhale also has the sounds of overtones, which takes a while to listen to, but you'll hear it. So it's more like, so I hope you get the gist of it. All you have to do is try and lengthen the exhale part to as long as you can without straining yourself a lot. It takes a while, but once you are able to do it, you'll be able to sing for about 35-40 seconds in just one single breath. So even more after a few years of practice. So you can go like, if I close my mouth a little more, I believe leaving out even lesser air, so that it helps me save even more breath. So circular breathing that is mentioned here is something I can't really do essentially, but it is when you breathe in through your nostrils while letting air go out through your mouth simultaneously. It is a difficult practice and takes a while to get used to. You can practice it with a straw and a bottle of water and try blowing in bubbles continuously while breathing in through your nostrils in gaps whenever needed. This is very essential. You have to use your diaphragm a lot so that you can push out the air constantly in a uniform manner. Also, your diaphragm can be used to control the sound too. You can make it louder, lesser, or change the timbre of the sound altogether. So, how is it produced? Different styles, they use different parts. In this particular diagram, you see the part named vocal cords. So, this is essentially where your voice is resonating or voice is getting created, and then it resonates a little bit ahead in the throat just before it enters the soft palate, like goes towards the soft palate and towards the outside of the mouth. Your tongue helps modulate the overtones or the other higher frequency that are audible. So here you have the general biological diagram of a throat, and you'll see three pointers on the right side. I'm sure it's not very clear, so the one in the middle is called oropharynx, which marks the area right behind the last part of our tongue. So this is where all of the sound is sort of resonating, and you see the curve of the tongue right behind it, which is the last part of the tongue. I generally use this part a lot to literally almost close my throat. So you see this thing called soft palate, which is right above the tongue. So you can almost close your throat or air output by moving the last part of your tongue upwards. So if I show you from the side view, the part is somewhere here. It's in the center, but it's here, and it's the last part of my tongue. I use vowels A, E, I, O, U to change the height of the last part of my tongue. So I can close my throat with the last part of my tongue. It leaves very little gap for air to gush out. That's why the higher frequency sounds are produced. This is the basic gist of it. You can also do it without the last part of your tongue by just using the tip of your tongue. The timbre is the sound quality that would change completely. So for overtone singing, first and foremost, again, you have to train your ears. You have to learn to listen very carefully. Overtones are audible in everything around us. Any sound that is being produced, if you anything, tires moving, or somebody talking or somebody singing, there's overtones, there's undertones, and there's fundamental. It's present in all of them. What we refer to generally as a fundamental sound is a composite of the overtone, the fundamental, and the undertone. So here I'll call the fundamental a drone sound. So you keep a steady drone, and generally you can pick a long steady vowel like oo or uh or nug nug ner oo. There's one more syllable which is not mentioned in this, which is BL, bul. This is the trick that helped me a lot while learning. So, bul, when you say bul, your tongue, like in the diagram, it automatically goes up like this onto your upper palate. So, imagine this to be my tongue, and this is the tip of my tongue. This, the back part, is the last part of my tongue. So, and here goes the throat. Here is the throat. So, So along with that, along with the BL, you can also shape your mouth, find different sweet spots with your tongue, because everybody's mouth, everybody's head is shaped differently. So everybody has their own gifts and everybody can develop their own styles. There's still a lot of possibilities that are yet to be explored with overtone singing, with throat singing altogether. And again, it is one of the oldest art forms that I've come across in my life. So as you see in the image, Rakesh, can you point towards the white things near the lips? Yeah. So those are the teeth, basically. But why the tongue is placed like this? There's a science to this. Also, there's a really nice logic to this, which is super technical. So when you sing, the sound is coming and it's passing over your tongue and exiting. So you can produce the overtones even without keeping the tip of your tongue on top. You can just move the mid part of your tongue upwards and block the sound and still produce it. Like this is very similar to certain Mongolian singing styles. So you can have, so I'm producing overtones without actually moving my tongue up right now, which is one of the Mongolian styles. I'm not really singing, I'm just demonstrating the sounds. But when I move the tongue up, again, Rakesh, could you point at the white part and the void below it? Yeah, so, yeah, exactly. So what's happening here is when you keep your tongue up like this, there's another chamber formed between your lips and the tongue's bottom. This particular chamber helps you resonate the note that you are singing from your throat. So for every note that you are singing from your throat, the volume of this particular chamber will change slightly. The chamber will help resonate the note that you're singing. This chamber is also called a Helmholtz resonator. This resonator actually, you can just change the size of the resonator depending on the note that you're singing. For the lower notes, there will be a slightly bigger resonator, so the tongue will move a little back. For higher notes, the tongue will move a little front ahead and you'll have a smaller resonator so that very high pitched sound can come out. Yes, so the two techniques that I've mentioned here are Sigit. One is bright whistle overtone. So you do a mid low pitch and lift your tongue high. So, uh, and then you have Khöömii, which is softer, and you have a relaxed throat. Yes. So you can move the tongue back and front and find a different sweet spot. You can move the tongue up and down. You can move the middle part of your tongue up and try a different variation. You can move the tip of your tongue towards the top behind your teeth and touching your upper palate very softly so that air can still gush through from the top. And when the overtones are produced very correctly, you'll feel a very nice flow of air passing really fast from the tip of your tongue. Kargyra. So Kargyra is essentially trying not to use a lot of the tongue and a lot of the head voice. It's using more of the torso. It's making complete use of the diaphragm and also somewhat forcing the diaphragm to push out more air while doing Kargyra, because the notes are low, you end up leaving a lot of breath in a very short time. So you have to use your diaphragm to breathe and push out air so that it can sustain more. Chest voice, like breathing with your chest is not gonna help here. In fact, it'll strain you. So don't try that. A low fundamental note would be so what you can try is, so here you have to enable your false vocal cords to sort of initiate a growl. So you can start with, say, creaky sound, a very low, like it's like wind passing through. When you leave a little bit of your window open, you hear a sound. Sometimes the sound is melodic, but sometimes it's not. It's just plain. Now, once you're able to do this, you generally produce this sound even when you're sighing. Like, with this, you can put a little bit of zr, a vocal fried sound, like a little bit of frying sound, like, it's basically R, ZR. So, so I'm producing the R sound with it. So the last part of my tongue starts rattling a little bit, and you can hear the fry. That's called a vocal fry. Chest cough trick. So I'm sure you must be doing this almost every few months or something. Right now, I'm doing it strong, like a little bit powerfully so that I can make you listen to it, but don't strain yourself this much. Be very gentle. You'll be able to notice a low rumble when you combine the first part, the creaky sound, the creaky door sound, along with the vocal fry. You start listening to. So the bass is kicking now, kicking in. Now you can add vocals. So, few important terminologies. So, definition of the fundamental, which I've been mentioning 100 times before this, the lowest frequency of a periodic waveform and the musical pitch of a note that our ears perceive. So, generally, most of the like when somebody sings or two musicians are singing, one singer would mention that, okay, your fundamental note is F or your fundamental note is G because that's the note you're singing. Now, that's because that's what the musician's ear is perceiving, and that's the only terminology they can give to that sound. Though the fundamental is a composite of many different sounds, it's not just one sound. A sound wave is a composite of many different smaller sound waves. So, here, essentially, what we do with throat singing is we break that sound wave into two different parts so that we can concentrate on only two. And then we manipulate our vocal folds or tongue and mouth so that we can, say, soften one of these two sounds or amplify one of these two sounds or even both of them simultaneously. Okay, harmonics are something I mentioned before. It is the loudest and, okay, characteristic is it is more loudest and most prominent part of the harmonics. Harmonics are waves or signals with frequencies that are integer multiples of the fundamental frequency. So, and they can refer to both musical sounds and electrical distortions. So, every overtone will have a different feel, or it will sort of replicate a completely different object. That's how even two guitars won't sound the same. The two guitars sort of made from the same metal strings but different woods will have different sounds. It is because even though the fundamental sound they are producing is the same or the same note, the overtones, the undertones are higher, lower, and the whole of it shapes the sound of the instrument. This quality of sound difference between two same music instruments, it's called timbre. So timbre is essentially the sound quality, and overtones define timbre very strongly, because each and every guitar, each and every piano would have different timbre. A guitar and a piano would have different timbre. A guitar tuned at E and a flute tuned at E have different timbre. They are tuned at the same note, but they have different sound qualities. It's because of the overtones, it's because of the undertones, and it's because of the primary fundamental frequency that they're producing. So any frequency of a sound that is higher than the fundamental frequency, so the upper half. Are also called harmonics when their frequencies are integer multiples of the fundamental. So when I'm singing I'm producing multiple overtones of the same fundamental frequency. The fundamental frequency will have one name, say G, E, A, Sa, Re, Ga, Ma, anything. And then the overtones will be, its frequency will be in a direct multiple of the fundamental characteristics. So overtones, yeah, again, as I mentioned before, they define the unique quality of sound, whether it be a piano or a violin. Why they sound different is because of the overtones, or because of the whole fundamental overtone and undertone. All right. So they are produced naturally when a musical note is played or sung or anything. Undertone is the opposite of overtone, inverted counterpart. They are not physically occurring, but are used as inspiration many a times to mirror the overtone species. They do not naturally occur with the production of sound in the same way that overtones do. Kargyra, the lower bass throat singing form, tries to concentrate more on the undertone subharmonics of the fundamental, and the overtones are used for the Sigit and Tuan style or Khöömii style. This is very important, especially when you're practicing Kargyra, the one with the vocal fry and this technique. Do not push yourself, because it's very easy to strain your throat after it's heated up till a certain point. So don't push yourself for more than 5-10 minutes in the start. 5 minutes in the start, actually. And actually, not even more than a minute. First, just figure out the basic fry and the vocal fry, and also the producing a fundamental basic note from your diaphragm, using your diaphragm. Once you are able to do that, slowly you slip into a sweet spot by using different permutation combination, which don't strain your throat or your chest. So if you feel there's something scratchy or painful happening, stop right there, take a break. Start very softly. Don't go straight away. Just like my 10% volume. Just like 50%. So you can gradually get louder as you keep practicing. Hydrate yourself with warm water, not very hot, not cold at all. Rest sufficient while you're practicing this, because it could strain your throat really fast if practiced inappropriately. Khöömii is performed by Mongolian nomads in a variety of social occasions, from grand state ceremonies to festivities and household events. Khöömii is also sung during herding, as I mentioned earlier, and inside the yurt to lull babies to sleep. Meditation and healing practices. It is used in meditation and healing practices in shamanic rituals. In today's date, it's being used for a lot of electronic and trance-like music with a little bit of sampling of overtones. So also Kargyra. So people do like so you add a few keys to it, you add some more bass, you add some more melodies on the side, and you can literally make a psychedelic or trance track out of it. This is what this track is created and used by this artist named Umet Oskan, who actually makes techno music. Yeah, it is also used a lot for sound healing nowadays, and different practices to say heal, also to self heal. So this is a picture from Swaram. I just picked it off the net, but I used to work with Swaram a couple of years back, and that's precisely where I came across overtone singing, also throat singing, and I got to learn from Wolfgang Sauce and Mr. Hans Shirish. So I got to spend like half an hour, 45 minutes with both of them, and they gave me some tricks. And they would also use it during these sound bath sessions. Sound baths are multiple instruments, vocals, everything. People lay down and they're showered with sounds of different sorts so that their thoughts can flow seamlessly and they start healing them. Their brain can start healing them, or their mind can start healing their body. It's used a lot nowadays, and in movies, in cinematic sequences, you must see it. You'll hear Kargyra for sure in a lot of say negative sequences.